I am a former fat person. When I was 270 pounds, I had fat person habits. Now, after losing over 100 pounds, I have fit person habits. And if I could share the most important habits with my 270 pound self, this is what I'd tell her. Number 1, 10 pounds of muscle could lose you your next 25 pounds of fat. Having muscle on your body actually helps with your metabolism because muscle takes energy to exist on your body, whereas fat is just stored energy on your body. For me, when I was trying to cut for my show, I was around 175, 180 pounds when I started. So for me at 180 pounds, but at 23% body fat, it's a lot different than for someone else that might weigh the exact same as me, but say they're at 30 or 35% body fat. Because with your body composition, if you have more muscle on your body, it's easier to lose the fat because your maintenance calories is so much higher than someone else that might weigh the same, but have a higher percentage of body fat. Because I have more muscle, so my maintenance calories are higher, and then they have more fat. Even though we weigh the same, their maintenance calories are going to be lower because they don't have the same amount of muscle mass. So I can just reduce my calories a little bit and I'm losing fat, whereas they would have to reduce their calories a lot more to be in a deficit to lose the same amount of fat. So a person with muscle, their deficit might be around 2,000 calories, but someone who weighs the same but has less muscle, their deficit might be 1,500 calories or lower. Number 2, track your steps weekly, not daily. Steps are important because it's a very easy, low fatiguing way to increase your calorie burn throughout the day and throughout the week. 5,000 steps is roughly 200 calories burned, 10,000 is roughly 400, give or take, depending on your body weight and composition. Some easy ways to increase your steps is to just park further away instead of circling the parking lot 5 times looking for the closest spot. Take the stairs instead of taking the elevator. If there's a place you can walk instead of driving. And my personal favorite is to schedule in your day to start with like a 10-minute walk. You can also add in a 10 to 15-minute walk after meals because it's going to help your activity level, and it also helps your digestion and helps to regulate your blood sugar. When you want to increase your steps, the reason you want to look at it in the week instead of the day is because you can give yourself a little bit of grace because let's face it, you're not perfect, you're human. And there's going to be days when you don't get those 10,000 steps in that you're shooting for. And then you can get really down on yourself. Or if you're looking at it as a whole, if you only get 8,000 on Monday, you've got the rest of the week to get that extra 2,000 in to make 70,000 for the week. You could even just get 12,000 on Tuesday and you're right back at baseline for the week. You can look at it as some days you're getting high steps, some days you're getting low steps, but as long as you're hitting the average for the day throughout the week, then you're right on track. Number 3, track in grams. Use a food scale and log it in MyFitnessPal before you eat it. It's important to track in grams instead of measuring cups, like cups, tablespoons, things like that, because it's way more accurate, especially when it comes to things that are very calorie dense, like nuts or peanut butter. Because a tablespoon of peanut butter is roughly 90 to 100 calories, and it's very easy to overdo it on a tablespoon. But if you're just measuring 15 grams is 15 grams. You cannot make mistakes when you're measuring using grams. You can easily make mistakes if you're measuring using tablespoons and cups. Fat loss comes down to making sure you're putting in less calories than you're burning. This is why it's very important to be super accurate with the amount of calories that you're putting in, because otherwise it's easy to lie to yourself and go off your feelings instead of data, and then you feel like you should be making progress and you're not. So don't lie to yourself and make sure you're accurately tracking data. Number 4, batch cook 2 proteins and 2 carbs each week. When I was in my fat loss phase, the simplest way to stay on track was to make 2 proteins and 2 carb sources for the week, or maybe even the first part of the week, and then on Wednesday, I'd prep 2 more of each. This keeps it super simple, so I would do something like chicken breast and ground beef, a leaner protein and then a fattier protein, and then something like sweet potatoes and rice, and prep those on a Sunday or Monday for 4 or 5 days. I would just put it in the fridge and then weigh out my portions. If I knew I had a busier week coming up and didn't have a lot of time, when I made it, I would already prep it into the portions that I needed for the meals. The reason why a lot of people aren't successful with fat loss is because they don't plan for real life to kick them in the face. Because let's face it, life is gonna life. Something's gonna happen with your kids, you're gonna get called into work, you're gonna work an extra shift, flat tire, car won't start, something, things like that happen and they take up your time. And so if you don't have an intentional plan, then it's very easy to be like, oh, I'm too busy, or this happened, and blame other things, where if you just had a plan, you wouldn't have the other things to blame. So make sure you plan ahead by batch cooking so you don't have that excuse. Number 4, take 10-minute walks. You don't need to have an hour or 45 minutes to go for a big long walk. You can just take 10 to 15 minute walks throughout the day. If you stack 3 to 5 of them in the day, I can't do that math, but it's gonna be a lot of steps. Splitting them up throughout the day makes it not feel so overwhelming. And again, it takes away your excuse of I'm too busy or I don't have time. 10 minutes of walking can easily get you 1,000 steps. If you stack 3 to 5 of them throughout the day, that's 3,000 to 5,000 steps on top of all the other activity that you're already doing. So that's pretty easy to get your step count a lot closer to 10,000 in a day than if you just tell yourself you don't have time for a walk because you don't have 60 minutes and you plop your ass down on the sofa. And if you can't go for a walk, just get up, take a little stretch break, do some squats, push-ups, whatever you need to do. Just try and move your body like once an hour. Number 6, count the BLTs. Track every bite, lick, and taste. So lately, I haven't been as concerned with fat loss, and I've been doing a lot of BLTs. And then, when I kind of lie to myself and say like, well, I want to lose fat, but I don't actually want to because I'm not doing the things that I would do if I wanted to lose fat. But anyways, I tracked some of the BLTs that I had been doing. One of my personal favorites was taking pistachios from my ex-husband's pantry by the handful, also almonds. So I'd take a bunch of handfuls, or I would dump them into a container and then I'd eat the whole container. But then one time I actually weighed it, and that container of pistachios and almonds was like 600 calories. No wonder you ain't losing weight. If I compound that with like an extra protein bar that I eat, a couple cookies I took from his cupboard, this is funny because it's true, and maybe a piece of the poppy seed cake that's just sitting there looking at me, it's easily over 1,000 calories. And that's like half of the amount of calories that I need in a day, plus all of the macros that I did track. So sometimes it's not even that you binge your way to getting fat or fast food your way to getting fat, it's that you graze your way to getting fat or snack your way to getting fat. So track your BLTs. Number 7, don't drink your calories. No juices, no frapalapa-ding-dong chinos, and alcohol has calories. It's the 4th macro. Alcohol is roughly 7 calories per gram, and not many people understand that. And it's about 100 calories per ounce of alcohol. So the next time you think that you're not eating that much, maybe you're not, but maybe you're drinking that much. Not just alcohol, but juices, because they're condensed fruit that takes all of the sugar from multiple pieces of fruit, condenses it into a liquid, and removes all of the fiber, which the fiber is what helps to regulate your blood sugar when you consume the fruit in sugar, and helps keep you moving, if you know what I mean. So avoid juices, avoid sodas, diet sodas. Aspartame isn't the enemy. No frapalapa-ding-dong chinos. There's ways that you can still have your coffee and enjoy it without all the extra calories, like sugar-free vanilla or sugar-free whatever you like in there, stevia, or some kind of sweetener, and then use almond milk or something like that for the cream if you don't actually like coffee, you just like the sugar and the flavor. Drinking your calories is just silly. It doesn't provide any nutritional benefit to you, and it doesn't keep you full, and it just adds useless calories into your day. So try to replace as many of your drinks with 0-calorie alternatives. I promise you that whatever is happening in your body from the aspartame is not nearly as bad for you as being a big back with metabolic condition from someone who was a big back. Number 8, plan fast food that isn't fast food. Have some easy alternatives at home for when the shit hits the fan if you didn't prep your food or just when life is lifing. Things like canned chicken or buying a rotisserie chicken from Costco, take the skin off. Cans or pouches of tuna, Greek yogurt, protein powder, egg whites. You can cook up rice in like 10 minutes in a rice cooker. Sweet potatoes, you can throw them in the microwave and it takes like 5 to 10 minutes to microwave one. Rice cakes are also another, maybe not nutritionally dense, but easy carb source for you. Avocados, sometimes you gotta time it just right to hit their 1-minute window of when they're ripe, but they're a great fat source and actually have quite a bit of fiber in them too. You can use a protein shake for creamer in your coffee. Cottage cheese is also a great protein source. Most grocery stores will have pre-cooked chicken breast, and even if it's something that has a 2-month-long shelf life, that's gonna be better for you than stopping at McDonald's and getting something there. Like I said, sometimes life's gonna give you a square shot right in the baby maker. So if you have a plan B to your plan A, when you don't make plan A or something happens, you can default to plan B and still be successful in your fat loss. Number 9, swap hotels for Airbnbs. The main reason I do this is because of the kitchen. You have a fridge and a stove, so you can keep fresh foods fresh, and you can prep for the week easily with the stove. There's no easier time to fail on your fitness than when your circumstances are hard. So plan ahead and make your circumstances easy by getting an Airbnb instead of a hotel. Number 10, eat a big protein-centered breakfast. Most overweight women including 270-pound me, overeat carbs and undereat on protein. So if you're having a breakfast that's heavy in carbs, light in protein, you're already starting yourself at a disadvantage for the day. If you swap that around and eat a high protein breakfast with things like egg whites, now don't shoot me, the yolks aren't bad for you, that's where the fat is. So if you have like 2 eggs and then add in 200 to 400 grams of egg whites, that's going to give you another 20 to 40 grams of protein, because 10 grams of egg whites is 1 gram of protein. You could also do things like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, or make a shake with protein powder and a banana or something like that, instead of breakfast foods that are very high in carbs like pancakes, waffles, bagels, muffins, crepes, the list goes on. Do yourself a favor, high protein breakfast with a piece of fruit. The other thing that a lot of overweight women do in an effort to consume less calories in the day is just skip breakfast. By trying to eat less calories in the day, you're actually setting yourself up to eat more calories later in the day. And then you beat yourself up and start all over again the next day by pushing off breakfast, and the cycle repeats. If you eat breakfast that's high in protein, this is going to help stabilize your blood sugar from the start of the day, instead of jacking yourself up with carbs and then in like 2 to 4 hours, you're ravenous again and doing it all over. Number 11, buy a walking pad. For someone like myself, when I was 270 pounds and doing what I was doing, I spent a lot of time sitting at a desk. If I spent that time standing and walking while I was working, that would get me a lot more steps in the day. Instead of complaining that
I have a desk job, I can't walk, I don't have the time.
NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis, accounts for up to 30% of your daily calorie burn, which is a lot. Being an active person, you can increase your calorie burn throughout the day by just being more active. You don't have to be going for a run and trying to burn calories that way. You just need to move. And buying yourself a walking pad is one of the easiest ways that you can do that and just stop making the excuses. Number 12, don't eat back your calorie burn. You lose weight by eating in a calorie deficit. So why, when you burn calories, which puts you into a calorie deficit, would you eat those calories back? You're like shooting yourself in the foot, and you're putting in all of this effort and energy and then eating it back and not making any progress at all. Not only that, but if you're looking at your calorie burn based off of Apple Watch or some kind of fitness tracker, it's generally not accurate. And so if it says you burnt 500 calories in your workout, and then you're like, well, now I can have this chocolate bar and muffin because that equals 500 calories. You probably didn't actually burn the 500 calories, and nutritional labels have a certain percentage that they can be inaccurate also. So if they're telling you something's 300 calories and it's maybe actually like 340, and then your fitness device is telling you burnt 500 calories, you're being lied to in 2 ways. 1, that you're burning more calories than you actually are, and 2, that you're eating less calories than you actually are. So it's pretty easy to see why you can't make progress if you're basing everything around those numbers that are inaccurate to begin with. Number 13, pre-track your food instead of tracking as you go. If you plan your food for the day versus tracking as you go and trying to make it work for the last meal, you're going to be a lot more successful. If you take your calories for the day and your macronutrients, so your protein, carbs, and your fat, the amount that you need, and divide that by how many meals you eat in the day. So let's say you eat 4. Divide all of those numbers by 4, and that's going to give you approximately what you need per meal. Then you're going to plan the food to meet those macros and calories for the meal. Then you can pre-track that, and you have your food and your plan set up for the day. And if you do that day after day, you're set up for success instead of just trying to wing it. And then in the evening, you're left with you still need 30 grams of protein and 2 carbs, and you're over in fat. I guess I'm eating egg whites. And now I know what you're gonna say.
I don't want to eat the same thing every day.
I bet when you go for breakfast, you probably order the same thing, right? You probably go to the same place and you order the same thing every time you go for breakfast. You have your breakfast sandwich and your frappalapa ding dong chino that you order every time. But you're telling me you can't eat healthy food that's the same every day. And it doesn't even have to be the same. You can add different spices and condiments so that it's not the same. But when it comes to your fitness, your nutrition, and your workouts, boring is actually a good thing. Boring and consistent wins every time over novel and fun. Number 14, sleep by 9 to 10 p.m. Nothing good happens past 9 p.m. anyways. That's when you're doing things like the late night scroll and you fall asleep and drop your phone on your face, or you're doing laps circling the pantry, seeing if, maybe something else delicious popped up in there. And your body needs sleep. to recover and do all of the shit that it needs to do at nighttime. Going to bed by 9 or 10 p.m. is setting yourself up for success by getting the hours of sleep that you need, and then you're not tired in the morning and already dragging ass because you stayed up till 11 or midnight doing nothing productive, and now you're having a shit day because of it. Number 15, you will be hungry, but you don't have to be hungry all the time. If you plan your day efficiently though, you don't even have to be hungry. Not if you're eating volume foods. Like yeah, if you're filling up your calories on protein bars and nuts, you're gonna be hungry. If you eat volume food that isn't as calorie dense, you don't have to be hungry. You might feel a little bit of hunger here and there throughout the day, but you don't have to be ravenous all day long in order to lose fat. 2 things. Number 1, have a plan so hunger doesn't hit. Number 2, have a backup plan for when shit hits the fan and hunger does hit. You can plan for hunger not to hit by eating high volume foods instead of calorie dense foods like nuts and protein bars. If you have a salad that's full of a lot of greens and high in protein, that's going to keep you a lot fuller than if you have a protein bar or a shake and a handful of nuts. So high volume foods for the win. Let's face it, life is going to life. Things aren't always going to go to plan. So have a contingency plan for when things don't go to plan. Being a person who just doesn't stop for fast food is a great quality to have. Having a backup plan where you have things on hand like a pack of tuna, something like that. You have to have the rule with yourself that you're not going to just go stop for fast food because there was an emergency and now you're hungry. In those cases, embrace the hunger. Don't make a dumb decision in the heat of the moment where you go eat something that is going to make you feel shitty mentally, emotionally, and physically. Hunger isn't a crisis. You're not going to die here. You can put it off a couple hours until you get back to your plan. Make sure you set the expectation that you will push through the hunger because hunger means that your body's burning fat. Number 16, keep food that you're not allowed to eat out of the house. No food is inherently bad for you, but sometimes certain foods are bad choices. For me, I don't keep things like ice cream in the house because it is a very slippery slope for me. I'll plow through that bucket, and when I started, I'm just gonna taste it. Before I know it, I'm 1,000 to 2,000 calories deep in ice cream. I've done this before while I'm in a fat loss phase. The main offender for me, even when I was prepping for my bodybuilding show, was Pearl Bites protein balls. I would slam back 4 packs of those. Nobody needs to do that, so I couldn't keep them in the house. Even if I put them in the freezer, I would still eat them frozen. It was bad. I made the decision for myself not to keep them in the house because it's just an avalanche zone for me. You need to be smart about these things and know what your Achilles heel is or the things where you will compromise all of your values for. If it's not in the house, it's not in your mouth. And if you have to go out to get it, at least you had to go to put in some energy to go get it. And often you don't even want to because it's a late at night craving. You're smarter just to go to bed. Number 17, don't buy your kids candy or junk food. Nobody wins in that situation. You think that you're doing the right thing and keeping your kids happy, but all you're doing is essentially setting them up for the same failures in life that you have right now that you're trying to get over. Another thing, if you shouldn't be eating it, why are we feeding it to the kids? If you know that Fruit Loops is not a great breakfast for you, why is it a great breakfast for your kids? And then you ship them off to school and wonder why they're bouncing around and can't focus and everybody has ADHD. Did you think about the amount of sugar you just gave them and now you're expecting them to sit in a desk for how many hours and pay attention? I feel sorry for the teachers. The other lose in this lose-lose is now you have junk food in the house. And it's pretty easy to just stop on by the pantry and eat a sleeve of Oreos that shouldn't be there in the first place. Because, again, if you shouldn't be eating it, why are you feeding it to your kids? Another thing I like to think about, if you wouldn't feed it to an animal, like your dog, why are we feeding it to humans, like our kids? You wouldn't give your dog a sleeve of Oreos because they'd get sick. Why are we giving the kids a bunch of Oreos? You're setting them up to overeat calories by things like junk food and desserts because nobody actually needs those and they are essentially just extra calories that have no nutritional value. And so you have a nice dinner and then you bring out dessert, ice cream and cake, and that's just empty calories that do nothing for you. And now you're incorporating that pattern into their life on the daily and setting them up for failure as they become an adult. The other thing I hear women say is,
well, my kids won't eat that.
Your kids will eat whatever you make for them. What are they gonna do? Starve? Eventually, they're gonna eat. And if you don't provide the option of the shitty food or the processed crap that we're putting into kids and only provide mostly whole foods, nutrient dense, lean meats, fruits, vegetables, they're gonna eat it. But if you adapt and do whatever they want, you're just setting them up for the same overeating patterns that your parents did with you. Number 18, Lift to get strong, not to burn calories. When you get into the gym, your goal is to lift 8 to 10 reps, incredibly heavy, to failure, safely, of course. Not until it burns, but until you physically cannot lift the weight. And then you're gonna rest. You're not gonna do jumping jacks or lunges or some dumb shit in between. This process, lifting heavy to failure, is what builds muscle. And muscle is what makes you look toned. Losing fat is only half of what it takes to look good naked. The other half is to build muscle or have the muscle so that when you lose the fat, you look toned. Otherwise, if you just lose the fat and you don't focus on muscle, you look like a bag of milk. So in your gym sessions, prioritize strength over calorie burn and cardio. Number 19, leave the house instead of leaving your body. What I mean by this is leaving the house, like going for a walk, instead of leaving your body in disassociating from your current life by some kind of dopamine hit, which is usually eating some kind of shitty processed food or drinking or smoking or things like that. Sitting and scrolling social media, none of those things are productive for you if you're trying to lose fat. And if you're an emotional eater, like me, leaving your body or disassociating from your current emotional state by eating food is not a good habit to have. And so I developed the saying for myself, leave the house instead of leaving my body, because that way I was going for a walk and I could actually process what I was feeling and build my self-awareness instead of just shoving it down my throat. For me, when I was not the healthiest emotionally or physically, leaving the house helped me to build my self-awareness, and it helped me a lot with my emotional eating because I had zero self-awareness. I didn't know why I was eating. I knew what it took to be healthy and to lose the fat, but I couldn't get myself to do it because I wasn't aware of my emotional state and the why behind the what. Like the what being the weight loss and the why being, why am I binge eating? So when you can actually stop for a second and understand what you're feeling and process that, it sets you up for success long term, because the first step is awareness. If you're not aware of why you're doing the things, you can't stop yourself. You can't change. But when you become aware of it, you can make a new choice in the future. Number 20, have a coach. Years ago, I wanted to hire a coach, but I was very, very broke, in debt. Along the years, there's been multiple times where I wanted and needed to hire a coach to make the progress that I wanted to make. And in the moment, I didn't have the money. But where there's a will, there's a way. And so for me, looking at the areas I was spending money that wasn't benefiting me and that was potentially getting me farther from where I wanted to be, like when I wanted to hire a fitness coach, I'm spending money on drinking and ice cream and things like that that are not conducive to my actual goal. So those things are costing me. And if I cut those things out and take the money that I was spending, getting me further away from my goal, and invest it in something that's going to get me closer to my goal, that's a much smarter decision to make. But a lot of people overlook where they're currently spending their money that's actually costing them. When you go out for a meal out, you have a couple drinks, you have a meal, you have a dessert, you're easily spending $50 to $100, if not more. It's also costing you in a lot of calories that you're putting into your body. So you're overeating, you're overspending, and getting yourself further away from your goal. If you did something that didn't cost money for an activity, and you meal prepped your food, because let's face it, you have to spend money on food one way or another, but there's smart ways to spend money on your food, and then there's dumb ways. So if you prep your food at home, and then if you want to go out with your friends, go out with your friends, but have a water or a diet pop or something like that, versus doing a full fucking send on it, and then saying you don't have the money to help yourself. That's what I was doing. If you want to improve in some area of your life, you're going to pay. You can either pay with your time, or you can pay with your money. When you pay with your money, it's actually more of an investment than a cost, because when you're paying with time, you don't get time back. When you're paying with money, you can eventually make that money back. When you're paying with time, it's going to take you a lot longer. When you're paying with money, you can actually collapse the amount of time that it takes to learn the new skill or to get to the new goal, because you're hiring someone that's already done the thing or has more knowledge than you, and you don't have to try and fuck around and find out in order to get the outcome. And a quick PSA if you're new here, we help women over 35 lose 20 pounds in 12 weeks sustainably and keep it off. So if that's you, there's a link in the description. We have a lot of good reviews, and those are also in the description. If that's not interesting, that's cool too. So watch this video next where I talk about how to lose weight without exercising.